Good morning from Jonesboro, Arkansas, May 22nd, 2023, 7:29 a.m. And my wife and I, for our 32nd anniversary, went to the Smoky Mountains for a few days this last week. And because we were leaving later in the day, we didn't want to drive all the way through, so I looked for a hotel room in the Nashville area. I reserved one in Franklin, Tennessee. After I did so, I thought, hey, that's where Hybrid and Electric Car Sales is located. I've been wanting to go here anyway. So anyway, we did. We stopped by for a visit. And again, I get nothing from this gentleman. Chip is his name, I think. I get nothing from him. I want him to succeed. I want everybody who does this for a living to succeed. And this is not going to turn into his channel. I realized I put a few videos up recently, and I wouldn't be putting this one up no matter what, except I went there and I wanted to talk about that. And so that's what I'm going to do, because that's what I do here. I talk about what I want to talk about. It's just I can't do videos on things that I don't care about. I have to care about something to do a video on it, or it'd be horrible. So anyway, I stopped to test drive the Tesla I talked about a few days ago. Let's get rid of this. I did a video on a Tesla a few days ago that was $19,900. I said, finally a Tesla that I can afford. I wanted to drive it. Man, I wanted this car, but there were some problems. The biggest problem was, I know me, and if I had bought this car, before I even got it home, I'd been thinking, this is awesome, but I want one with a bigger battery and one that's newer, that has more bells and whistles. I want one that has a bigger battery. Been my main thing. I knew that. And it'd been very difficult to upgrade from this one to the one I would really want in less than 5 or 6 years, because of the depreciation of it and all that. And it was a good price, and I knew it wouldn't be there very long. I knew it wouldn't. Look at that. Ain't that awesome? And Chip told me, he said, I forgot exactly how he phrased it, but he said something to the tune of, this car won't be here this weekend. It may have been, I don't think this car will be here past the weekend. Or I think this car will be gone sometime this week. It was something like that. And I knew he wasn't just being a typical salesman. I knew that. And I told him, you're right, it won't be. This car will be sold quickly. One reason is because there's got to be a lot of people like me who cannot afford a $28,000 and $30,000 car. And they want a Tesla. There's got to be those people out there. And this is one. You go from $28,000 to $20,000. That opens up a whole new lot of people that could afford the car if they wanted it. So anyway, I knew it wouldn't be there very long. There's my wife standing by the car before we test drove it. There's Chip. You see him? I think that. Boy, I hope I'm getting his name right. I'm horrible with names. But anyway, I told him before I left, I said, you know, if I knew for absolutely sure that CarMax or Carvana would take my car, because I had offers on both, I would buy this car today. And then I would sell my vote when I got home. But then I told him about my experience with Carvana. I made a video about it called Carvana Lied to Everyone, or something like that, where Carvana, I had a car sold to them right about the time COVID hit. And we had an offer, and they had a date to pick it up. And then all of a sudden I got an email that said they were canceling all car purchases nationwide. You could still trade into them, but they weren't buying them outright because it was unsafe for their employees. That same car was not unsafe on a trade-in to pick it up, but was unsafe on a straight sale to pick it up, which was hogwash. And so anyway, I went out and bought a car on Carvana's promise. And then I had 2 cars and didn't need them both. And I wound up having to sell the car I just purchased. And I think I took about $1,000 loss and only had it about a month because Carvana lied to me. And so I learned not to do that. If that lesson hadn't happened to me, I would have owned this car, because I would have bought it and then I would have sold my car to Carvana, because there's no way that Chip could match Carvana or CarMax's offer. And there's a reason for that. You look at their prices compared to his. Whoops, that's something totally different. My brother is a big fan of these cars, and I saw it in the parking lot of hotels. I took a picture. But anyway, you look at the prices of Chip's cars versus CarMax and Carvana, and you will know quickly why he cannot match their prices. I wasn't even going to ask him to. He told me, he said, just out of curiosity, What do they offer you for it? And if I would have told him a number that he might could get close to, I guarantee, well, I won't guarantee, I fear he would have made me an offer. I told him, I said, I know you can't touch that. That's why I wasn't going to ask. But anyway, I drove it, loved it. And man, it's a good thing he sold it because I might have bought it. I'm kind of glad it sold. I'm kind of glad it did. I love these black wheels. But then we drove 2 more cars. Look at this. We also drove this 2014 BMW i3. And my wife really wants this car. She really does. There's a few problems with it. One is not the range extender, which I'm glad of. You know, BMW made 2 cars. They made the BEV, battery only, and then the range extender. You can tell it's a range extender because right here is another flap for the gas tank. But I'm kind of glad because that adds a whole new issue of maintenance and problems. But this has a pretty small battery. When it came from the factory, it had 80-something miles of range. And so anyway, when I got in it, I think it said 59 miles of range, but that could be because of the way it's been driven the last 30 miles. If you look at the first electric car I ever bought, a 2015 Chevy Spark EV, when I got in it for the first time, it said 59 miles of range, even though it's supposed to go about 80-something miles. That wound up being way off. It must have been the way that the previous owner probably drove like a horse's ass and get it down there. And so anyway, it wound up being about mid to high 70s is what this Chevy Spark wound up being. I'm hoping it's the same thing with this car. And if you look at the battery range score, which Recurrent, I ain't know who they were until today. I've done some research on them. They say to expect 71 to 78 miles out of this car. And 22 kilowatt hour battery, but only 18 kilowatt hours are usable. And I know there are people on their keyboards right now talking about how these are junk. And there's people on their keyboards right now talking about how these things are awesome. But I'm a little bit worried because it is a low-range electric car. But my wife absolutely loves it. Another problem is shipping. That's just another expense we have to throw on there. But I'm telling you, this wood grain here looks 100 times better in real life. This is absolutely gorgeous. This screen is huge. It don't look like it here, but it is. This was just such a nice car. I just wish it had more range, but we are considering it. We are. There's a few details we have to work out. Not horse haggling. I don't horse haggle, and I don't think he does either. But it's extremely rare for me to horse haggle at all. I just don't do it. I hate it. I hate that about our society. I just don't like doing that. And I think his prices are pretty firm anyway, so it probably wouldn't matter. But anyway, it's very tempting. My wife absolutely loved the car. I just wish it was a later model with a bigger battery. But we'll see. We'll see if we get it. And then, man, this thing rode so smooth, especially for such a small car. Compact cars usually aren't smooth. And this has the bigger wheels. The smaller wheels are supposed to be even a smoother ride. This car was incredibly. It was a great driving car. It was. It just won't take you very far, but the short distance it will take you, it's a nice ride. You'll enjoy it. So then I drove this. I got in this, and this thing said 107 or 109 miles, and I was shocked because it's only supposed to be 87 miles from the factory. My son, I have to call him back because I'm doing important stuff. I got bigger fish to fry than to talk to my son. But anyway, it's supposed to only be 87 mile range. It had 107 or 109. I wanted to love this car. I wanted to love it, especially with that range and such a cheap price. And keep in mind, the government right now is forcing everybody to pay 30% of the sale price up to $4,000. So take 30% off of this, and that's a very cheap car. Same with this right here. This works out to about $9,400. This one, I could do it in my head, but I want to make sure I get it right. $76.93. That's what it wound up being after your tax credit, if you qualify, and we would qualify. So I wanted to love this car. But man, I think it was because we drove the BMW first and it was so smooth. This felt like a compact car. That's what it felt like. Nothing wrong. It's just, you know how you expect a small car to feel when you drive it? That's the way this one felt. Except small cars don't normally have as much pep as this one does. It was quick and it was peppy and that part was fun. But I wish we had driven it first. Because imagine getting out of a car that's incredibly smooth and then getting in a compact car. You know how you're going to feel, right? But this is a great deal if somebody wants it. And it is a nice car. And I bet you we could get 90 to 100 miles in the summer. I bet we could. Maybe even 110, maybe. But the 109 it showed, oh man, that seems a little bit more than I would expect. The battery score is not on here. It's not. And look at the value of this one according to Carfax. I don't know what this means. $1,477 savings, but I do know this. I looked at CarMax, Carvana, and Cars.com. Now, CarMax and Carvana are just outrageous on everything. And even at I couldn't find anything that would match his price. I couldn't. I've always said that his prices seem very fair. But anyway, I'm not promoting. Only reason if I'm promoting him, then it's by accident. If I was promoting him, I wouldn't have said anything bad about this car at all. I wouldn't have talked about how it drives like a compact car except for the peppiness. You know, I'm here to tell the truth. You know, so, you know, that's just the way it is. But anyway, we'll see. I wish I loved this car. I do. My wife kept asking me. She said, how many miles does it go again? I said, well, I'm guessing 90 to 100. She's like, oh, that's so many more miles. And I told her, I said, yeah, but I don't think you'd be happy with it. I think it'd just take a couple months. You'd be like, ugh, I wish I'd gotten that BMW. And she agreed, because she also said after riding in the BMW, this did not compare. So with this, you get miles, you get more miles. But with this, you get more bells and whistles and you get a smoother ride. So it depends on what you need. And plus, this is $2,500 cheaper. You know, so $2,500 cheaper, about 30% more miles. Peppy, this one, peppy, a little bit more expensive. I'm hoping it'd get 70 miles. You know, but my wife is in a car commuting 2 hours a day. And the reason is, it only takes about 40 minutes to get to work. But she's so paranoid she can be late, which is a good thing. It's better to be an hour early for work than a minute late. She leaves an hour before work and gets there about 20 minutes before she has to be there. And then she sits in the car. And then on the way home, because of traffic, it's a good 45, 50 minutes. So she's in the car about 2 hours a day. So like she said, she wants to be comfortable. She wants to be comfortable. So if we buy one of these two, it would probably be this one. I would love to drive this again because so many people love it. So many people love this car that surely I'd like to drive it again. Of course, he's 4 hours away, so I can't. All right, I'll shut up now. I'm not the marketing arm of hybrid and electric car sales. Oh, there's somebody else calling me. I better answer that. It might be the governor. He might need something.